is the birthday of one of the greatest Sacramento Kings of all time. Born this date, and I think he was born in Mobile, Alabama.
Okay.
DeMarcus Cousins. Happy
Big
birthday.
DeMarcus
Cousins today.
My guy, Big Cuz. Happy birthday to him.
Mm-hmm.
Had no idea. Darn.
It happened to come up when I was checking out things, for the quiz, which is coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you think he should rank? If you're ranking the greatest Kings, the best players, where does DeMarcus Cousins rank, in your opinion?
That's a good question.
He put up some incredible numbers. There were obviously issues off the court. Of course, everyone points out that he did so much for the community and the team.
And we're talking Sacramento.
Good.
Era.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's in the top 5.
Wow, really? So who would you have there? You'd have
because got to have Foxy.
Okay,
I'm gonna throw De'Aaron Fox in there. That's my guy. I got to have him in there. I got to throw C Webb.
Mm-hmm.
Got to throw Mitch.
Yeah.
I might even throw Peja in there. Might even go Vlade. That's what I'm saying.
Wow.
Like, I don't know. And maybe I'm off base here. Cousins was great.
Yeah.
He put up the numbers, but the success didn't follow.
I think that's really interesting because I think the vast majority of people would easily have him in the top 5. And I appreciate the fact that you don't necessarily because you're looking at other things.
Everybody's
considering other things.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me.
Yeah, and maybe if you would ask me 2 months ago, I might have had him, on the Mount Rushmore, a top 4 or something like that. But I'm going to give the nod to those, early 2000s teams and give them an extra boost just because of all the success they had.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me because I tend to look at what a drag everything off the court was to the teams that he was on. And I think sometimes we overlook that here because, he's Boogie and he was our own and, we got a shoe right here. And at a time when the Kings were struggling to get noticed and he was, an all-star. But I tend to agree with you. I mean, it wasn't just because he didn't play on great teams that the team didn't achieve a lot. As the best player, some of that, it's on him.
Yeah.
But I might still have him top 5. I don't know.
Let me ask you this, though, because here's the thing. When I look at De'Aaron Fox versus DeMarcus Cousins, because when I look at De'Aaron Fox in the start to his career, I look at the talent he was surrounded with. It wasn't a great roster. It wasn't a good roster. When you look at DeMarcus Cousins, did he have a better roster, better pieces to work with? The Rudy Gays, the Tyreek Evans of the world. And so could we argue those Kings teams may have underachieved a little bit? When I look at Fox's tenure, I think they achieved exactly what they were. You know what I mean? They weren't a good team. He wasn't surrounded. Now he gets good players, and now you see what happens. And I would love for people at home to tell me, 916-339-1140, because I wasn't around. Did we view those DeMarcus Cousins Kings teams as underachievers at the time?
They were it was such a mess around here for so many reasons. And he got into it with coaches and, maybe you could say he got coaches fired and the organization was struggling. And then it looked like they'd found with Michael Malone some stability when they had DeMarcus and Rudy Gay and your boy IT.
My guy.
3 guys averaging 20 and they just couldn't keep him on the floor. And then they let coach go and we never knew what that was going to become. Then after that, it was just everything was going sideways. I still think I'd have him ahead of Vlade. How about you, Jay? And I understand why you don't. I get that completely. What about you, Jay? I mean, Vlade was around. Great teams. You're right. Those were great teams.
Look at Jay.
It's a tough one.
It is. I think and this is the tough part around here, fellas.
DeMarcus was, while you gather your thoughts, you get your headphones on, 4-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA second team, and of course he was NBA All-Rookie first team.
Yeah, but you got to look at,
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
I'd probably go DMC over Vlade.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think it's a coin flip depending on who you ask. The 2000s teams around here can't do anything wrong. Like they could literally right now, and I'm exaggerating. They could literally wreck a car on Golden 1 right there at the concourse,
Oh,
and nothing would be wrong. Like, you just lost it. The gas just stuck. Like it'd be okay. I'd take DMC because I think the talent. I think he took the Kings, and this sounds crazy, not to another level as far as team wise, but he was the one kind of like Mitch Richmond, where it's like, I can hang my hat on the fact that I probably have a top 2-3 big in the game. He's a star, towards the end at the end, he became a multiple all-star. He was the guy that the Kings could say, that's our guy. Like he was the star of all stars. He was the star of the NBA.
Remember, it's like send Boogie to the All-Star
Absolutely.
game.
Yeah, that was the thing. Yeah.
It's just on the court, which is crazy. Off the court, he was a saint. People loved him. I always go back to a few young teenagers losing their life, here in Sacramento, or one, I should say, and Boogie coming not to the rescue, but assisting the family, who went to Grant High School. And that was one of the things that Boogie did quite a bit, was under the radar, was he helped the community. He was a community guy. He was more recluse, as you talk about recluse, but he helped the community. On the court, he was a rock star. Like you just didn't know which way he was going to go every single night.
Yeah. Gabriel Perez says on the chat, I think of it as more of a fail on the organization side. They surrounded him with trash. Garrett Young says Vlade's rep was tarnished as a GM.
Yeah,
I try to look.
You gotta separate that though, right?
Yeah, but
you got to.
where people maybe we don't. I try to. I think I can do that.
But let me ask you guys this, because let's say you were erecting statues outside of Golden One Center.
Ooh,
is DeMarcus Cousins one of the top 4? Top 5? I don't know. You see what I mean?
Top 5 maybe, but top 4 no. Here, somebody from the 530, they didn't put the name on it. Says Boogie's not even top 10.
That's just disrespectful.
That's not even close.
Ken in Orangevale says, don't forget the late great Wayman Tisdale.
Ooh, yeah. Wayman Tisdale. We got through our boy Reggie Theus in the conversation to an extent. Here's the thing about DeMarcus, and somebody said it on the YouTube chat. On talent alone, just strictly talent.
Oh, he's in there.
He's top 2-3 of all time in Sacramento era. But we're talking about career impact, winning, all that. You could argue DeMarcus put up numbers that didn't lead to winning,
right?
And so the numbers look great, but he didn't have the team success, and I think that's what holds him down. And it's not against it. Like, he did all he could do, Jay. It wasn't like, he was the reason they were losing games. I just don't think the team performed well as a unit for some reason.
But fellas, and you guys can tell me this better. You've seen a lot more basketball than I have. There's always going to be a good star, a good player, the best. Someone has to be the best on a bad team, right?
Right.
I thought DeMarcus not only was the best on the Kings, but he was one of the best in the league. Like, it's not Ron Harper on the Clippers. This is not Kyle Kuzma on the Wizards, like Jordan Poole on the Wizards. Like, he was a top 5, top 3 big man for sure, but a top 15, top 20 guy in the league at one point in time.
Yeah. Well, and I know I mentioned it, but just to your point, he was, what did I say? How many times was he second team all league? 2 times all league, second team, 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
That's big time.
And let me retract just a little. I gave him the nod over Vlade. I gave Vlade the nod over him, not because of individual stats or talents. I'm talking about what they meant to the organization in terms of winning. And that's why I give those early 2000s. Is DeMarcus Cousins a better player than more talented player than Vlade Divac? Yes. But whose career was better?
Vlade's.
Vlade. That's
I don't think that's even close.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But DeMarcus, talent-wise, was the better player. It just didn't manifest itself in the wins.
Where you rank him, how highly you rank him, hinges a lot on whether you view him as a victim of the organization or the organization as a victim of him.
Can it be both?
Yeah, there's some of that, sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
but most people don't see 50-50.
I think he was a victim of the organization, really. And I look at the talent around him, and I say to myself, how come it didn't work? And I'm not talking about winning the championship. How come you ain't even make the playoffs? They had some talent, fellas. It wasn't like they were like Ron Harper and the Clippers with Benoit Benjamin out there or something like that, Jay. They had
Lloyd Vine.
Right. Like Rudy Gay was a good, very, very good player.
Rondo.
Tyreek Evans,
IT.
Rondo, IT. Like,
I think you go back to when the Maloofs owned the team and he was here. The biggest mistake they made was in giving him the freedom to, okay, yeah, you don't like the coach. All right, we're going to take it. Yeah, yeah. And I don't think that served him well. Now, maybe if they'd gone the other way, maybe it would have blown up sooner. Maybe that wouldn't have been the answer either. But I think letting him know that, all right, you're the one running the roost here. You're more important than the coaches. I think that doomed him to fail.
Well, and you're 100% right with that, Whitey. And I also, we can blame the organization, but I got to cover DeMarcus his first year when he was at Kentucky. And it takes a special kind of coach / organization, a special kind of relationship to get the best out of DeMarcus. And to your point, they enabled him.
Yeah,
didn't hold him accountable for
absolutely.
And then when you bring in somebody that tries to do it in a George Karl, well, DeMarcus ain't trying to listen to George Karl.
Right.
Like the communication just wasn't there. And so I think when you look at what he did with John Calipari, yes, they bumped heads, but there was a mutual respect. What he did with Dave Yeager, what he did with Malone, like there was some respect there that, the King, let's keep it real, man. The carousel of GMs, the carousel of coaches, at the time, it was not a functional, well-working environment. Let's just call it what it is. It's different now, obviously. But when you have 6, 7 different coaches in your career, DeMarcus is the kind of guy that needs to develop that trust. Mm-hmm. How can you develop trust when every year or two you got a different head coach?
Mm-hmm.
And so I place some of the blame on the organization.
Mm-hmm. Some people here are saying, hey, don't forget about Bibby. Don't forget about Jay Will. And I know, Jay Will wasn't here nearly as long, but the impact that he had when he was here is incredible.
So wait, give me your 5 again one more time, Drake.
All right.
You got Webb.
Webb is there, and this is no order, Jay.
Yeah,
no order.
For sure.
Webb, Mitch, got to go Mitch.
Of course.
Got to go De'Aaron Fox.
Okay.
I'm throwing Fox in that argument. I'm going to go Peja, and I had Vlade. I could make an argument, fellas, for that guy right there on our wall, Domantas Sabonis.
Haven't been here long enough.
Give him one more year.
Yeah, somebody on the chat here, I apologize, who was it, said, hey, that was the big question this summer.
Family Slagle,
Family Slagle, Domas or DeMarcus.
Yeah. I don't know, man. And Jay, you were around.
And it's winning, right? The basis on what
you got to include all that. It's
okay.
Everything. It's not just looking at the stat sheet or their, a basketball reference page. It's impact.
And there's and there's talent. Like we say, DeMarcus is more talented than a lot of these guys. But who did more for the team and did more to help the team win? There's no question. Domas did,
he
right?
changed the thing immediately.
Yeah.
Very first
and
game.
He was on a better team, but still, he does more for your team.
But stability, and you guys know this as parents. Stability makes a big difference, right? Mm-hmm. Like if the household, the foundation, whatever is not stable, like 9 times out of 10, it's just not gonna work. You try to put a roof on a shanty, that thing's gonna fall down. Domas just came at a perfect time.
You're right,
and he is part of the perfection. Like, but the stability was here, and I find myself arguing DMC DeMarcus. I just think, without DeMarcus, there was a huge lull. That was the one thing, like Mitch Richmond. Like the one thing that made Mitch 10 times better to rock for me is that was our guy. That was the only thing we absolutely had in Sacramento, that if you came to a conversation, a gunfight with a knife, I had Mitch Richmond. Mm-hmm. Like that was my argument. Oh, you got Joe, I got Mitch. You got Kevin John, I got Mitch. And that's the thing with DeMarcus for Sacramento for a long time, fellas. It was only DeMarcus.
That's all we had.
That's all you could argue.
Were you talking about Kevin Johnson or Kevin John from ABC?
KJ, Dan Marley.
That's it. We'll take a quick time.
Yeah, I got something else on that. Yep.
Happy birthday to DeMarcus Cousins. The conversation continues when we come right back on Sactown Sports.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
Gotta change my oil.